Hello, I want to discuss a review on the Pilot Rock Covered Grill. This is a very high-end, heavy-duty piece of outdoor cooking equipment that complements my gas grill. So first, let's get to the good part, cooking. So what I like to do is shut off all 4 air vents, 1, 2, 3, 4, when I'm done cooking, and shut the lid. It's airtight. The fire goes out very quickly, and you're left with some of your remnants. For instance, here's a piece of live oak that's mostly charred, and then I gather up some kindling from my yard from all my trees that drop wood. I put in 2 of these fat wood sticks, and I place them underneath, and then I take this cigar lighter that has it's a torch effect, and I can light those when I slide them underneath. I then put lump charcoal on top, and if I didn't already have that piece of wood, I would grab a piece of wood from over here. Some other good techniques are to maybe grab a piece of wood and drop it in, and then slide it over as your fire burns down. Keep your fire condensed. Some pro tips: once you get your fire going, I like to wrap up a bunch of potatoes with vegetables, olive oil, a little bit apple cider vinegar and seasoning, and put on top while the fire's going, and let it mostly cook, and then slide it to the side, and then put my steaks or hamburgers or pork on top of the fire. When I get the fire to an appropriate temperature, I leave everything wide open. I do my cooking. It cooks very quick because you're on a very high-speed fire, very hot fire. Over here, I keep multiple types of wood. I keep live oak, Chinese pistachio, red oak, walnut, mesquite, and I use these differently. Right now, I've got some live oak. I just put a piece of walnut in here. And the reason I use those types of wood, if I want to get the fire hot very quickly, I'll use mesquite or Chinese pistachio. Otherwise, if I want the hardest wood, it'll be walnuts, my hardest wood I keep on stock. And then I keep some kindling and some things like that. So you'll need to buy a couple optional things. One is this grater, and the other one is the optional basket. Let me give you a tip on the basket. When you cook with a large chicken or anything that's tall, I guess a chicken's all I've had a problem with. When you shut this, it pushes the basket up and it will actually fall down. So if you have anything tall, remove that. Otherwise, it's a very effective thing to throw potatoes or anything you want on here. The other thing is, if you probably just noticed, it takes 2 hands to operate this. So it's very heavy. That's why I generally build my fire on this side, because if you build the fire on this side or use the entire grill, this is going to be very hot, this and this. So I have a pair of gloves in the rear instance I do that. If I'm going to be out by the pool all day, I'll build a fire all the way on this side, and I'll put a slab of ribs here and here, find a really small slab, and while the fire is just smoldering, I'll smoke ribs as an appetizer, and then I'll go in for the main course. This is the best thing I've ever cooked pork or hamburger type meat or any type of bovine. But if you cook chicken on it, I would recommend only using lump charcoal, because it's going to be too smoky if you use wood on this. But it's perfect for steaks and pork. The other thing is, when you build a fire over here, this gets really hot. If I was going to redesign this, I'd probably put some spacers in here and move this over just a little bit, like just to put a tiny gap so this doesn't get so hot, similar to how this side gets hot. The other improvement I'd make is a poker. There is no poker, and I like to move stuff with the fire, so I found this stick that works perfectly. And it's lasted a very long time, but if they would make an optional poker that would fit through the grates, I would buy that. Aesthetically, I built this tabletop. It's very handy to have. I put this in the flagstone because I wanted something that looked nice as well as being functional. So this is a really nice, incredibly heavy-duty grill. On installation, I put this one in a little bit loose. I would make them a little snugger. I thought if I put them too snug, The air vents would be hard to turn. I just need to tighten that one a little bit. Waterproof. This thing is airtight and waterproof, except I noticed this sprinkler right here blasting up into here and forcing water in through the air vent, even though it was closed. So I adjusted the sprinkler a little bit, but otherwise I find no issue. Installation. Some pro tips on that. They say dig a 3-foot hole. A 3-foot hole is very, very deep. I dug a 2-foot hole. I poured dry concrete down the middle and around it, poured water in it, let it set for a day, and I found 2 feet to be plenty, because you only sink the bottom hole right here 2 feet. But before you do that, you need to screw the top hole into the bottom hole. I found there's no way to do that with my hand strength, so I use these 2 devices, and I was able to screw them together without any issue. I'm not sure how, unless you have 2 strong people, how you do that. Also, they say you need 3 people. 2 people to pick this up, 1 on each side, and 1 person to be a guy to drop it on. That's probably a good recommendation. However, I was very strategic on putting on a 2-wheeler, and I lifted it and put it on with 1 motion. But this weighs, I would guess, 150 pounds. Be careful. Other than that, cleaning. Another thing I would do differently is I would put a hook on this. If I had a welder, I would do that myself, so that you can scrape everything out. This fits perfectly in to push stuff out this end piece. But I find that, and that sort of locks in place, but not very well. I find it being a giant mess to try to push ashes out that, and I end up getting them everywhere. So a better method is I push the ashes this way. So I push them this way, and then I take this and I simply scoop them up, and this works much better. I can get almost 100% of the ashes out that way. I couldn't find anything else like this on the market. I bought this at Northern Tool, I think $449 roughly, maybe $439 plus tax. It goes on sale sometimes. I think they have some, you might get a quote online if you need a bigger model. This one's big, large enough for my family, plus another family. However, they make larger models. I don't see the need for that. They also make an optional smoker box that I would love to get a second one and try that out, because I think this would be a great smoker. If I'm actually doing smoking, I'll drag my smoker out, but I think this could be a great smoker, but I just wouldn't want a firebox that I had to pull on and take off. Anyway, I would highly recommend this. Nothing else like it on the market. The covered grill's great. Once again, you see it's a 2-handed operation, so you might have to have some gloves if you have a super hot fire. But overall, I'd give this a 5-star rating. Thank you.